Hello everyone, it's just about 8 o'clock here in Japan, Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. How are y'all guys doing today? I'm here to talk about something really interesting. Let's talk about this 1514 Portuguese flat earth map. This is the map. It's not really as you would see like the flat earth map that we are used to see, but there's a reason for that. This is a collection of maps actually from Portugal, and we were going to be talking about this, and I'll explain some of the aspects of this map. But this was made in 1514, about 30 years before Copernicus published his heliocentric model, and almost 100 years before Galileo was credited to saying about the planets. Of course, they knew Earth was flat, and they had everything already mapped out. That's what I'm going to show you today. So this is a 1514 Portuguese flat Earth map. I'm going to show here in English some of the words. Now, the Portuguese language has changed over the years, just like the English language. It's very difficult for you to read anything written in English, in the 1500s, 1400s, because language changes. Same thing with Portuguese. So I wrote some of the places that was written in Portuguese because Portuguese is my mother language, but the language has changed a lot. So here you have Peru. This is the Amazon River right here, and Brazil. You have the Cape of Good Hope right here. This is Europe right here. You have Portugal, Spain, France, Italy. This is Africa. So, Vasco da Gama, he sailed around Africa to reach India. So you have here Turkey. And very interesting how they have Germany right on top, like almost here in this circle right here, really up north. Newfoundland in Canada. I have Persia here, China, Japan, Java. And then on this side, Peru, right? They have South America here. And they have something I cannot understand. I couldn't understand what it says here. I don't know. I don't want to guess. And here you have New Guinea. There are a lot of very interesting things about this map. And what I will do, I'm going to play a video. The guy has a Brazilian channel, YouTube channel, Flat Earth channel. And he brought a guy from Portugal to explain a little bit of the map. So I'm gonna play parts of the video and I will be voicing over because the whole thing was in Portuguese. But first of all, I wanna explain something here. As I told you, this is like a rough draft of the flat earth, the Portuguese did, because they have, let's go back here to this website. There are almost 300, actually there are 300 pages here, 304 pages of maps, and I'm gonna show some of them to you, but we're gonna go over them. So the highlighted regions, this is Mozambique, and there's a lot of things very interesting in this map, and here they detail some of the things they encountered. And I actually have saved here some of the pictures. For example, let's talk about Polaris, or star of the Midnight Star, or the North Star. This is Polaris. I registered everything. And the other thing here, very interesting, here, the height of the sun. So we have here the North Star, and they have the coordinates here. And in this document, they calculate the altura, or the height of the sun, using the astrolabe. Here we have they recording the position of the moon. Lua means moon. And you have the months of April, May, June, and the days, day 1, day 2, day 3, and it's recorded for the whole month. And they recorded the declination, the days, domes. This is the word dome. Don't understand why. But as you see, they recorded everything. And they also did the same for the sun. But this document's 304 pages. I haven't gone through all of them. But I'm going to leave the link if you want to go over. Some of the things are difficult to understand, even for me who understand the language, because this is old Portuguese. So let's go ahead. I'm going to play the video, and I'm going to be voicing over what they have to say, and then we're going to go back and talk a little bit more about this map. This is the 1514 Portuguese flat earth map. I'm voicing over what the guys are speaking, but you're not going to be listening to them. So this is the map. He opened it in Photoshop. And what he's talking about now are those points, circles right there. He's going to show you. You can see all those lines on the map, all those straight lines. But right there where he's pointing the mouse right now shows the solstice. The points of the sun where they recorded back then. That's the solstice right there in Africa, the equinox. So he's showing now the positions of the sun as the Portuguese recorded back then. He's showing the Amazon River and where the sun was recorded right there at the discharge point of the Amazon. Exactly at the point of discharge of the river into the Atlantic Ocean, that's where they recorded the position of the sun. So you see another one there on the west coast of the United States, and you can see there are 8 of them, 8 points around the equator. All those were places where they recorded the position of the sun. It makes like an 8-point star or a 2 4-point star superimposed on top of each other. And you have right in the middle the North Star or the Polaris. They call the North Star. So he's pointing like there are 2 squares from North America to Africa, from Africa to the Indies, from Indies to Southeast Asia, and then back to West Coast of North America. That's 1 square. So here he placed a straight line. He's showing that that place in Africa where the sun, I think it's Gabon, right there. So the sun was recorded right there. It's recorded. So the next one they recorded right there at the discharge of the Amazon River. Right there, that's where they recorded the sun again. And if you see on the right side, it's where they recorded in the Indian Ocean. So there is like a rectangle there displaying the 2 top corners where the sun was recorded, but on the bottom was also recorded there. So you see that the sun goes around, contrary to what some of the people say, that it doesn't go from northeast to northwest. But if you look closely, that's how they recorded. They recorded all over. All those yellow points are showing where they recorded the position of the sun. But you see there an 8 point form like an octagon or 2 squares. Oh, he's explaining now that this symbol, those 8 points, anybody who understands about astronomy or even the people of the old, they know or they knew that represent Earth, all those 8 points. So he's showing the points that it's like they balance each other. Okay, but that's on the equator, the position of the sun where it was recorded by the early explorers, 1514 or before that, because the map was published in 1514, but all those records were registered before, of course. Okay, he's showing the star signs right there. That would be bringing a little bit of the constellations on top of the map. So he's showing some of the star signs now, talking about some of the star signs, like when the sun visits those constellations. Now going back here to the map, see the rectangle? When it's showing the sun was recorded at right above the discharge of the Amazon, and also is discharged there in Congo, Angola, Africa, and coming from the Indian Ocean, those places where they recorded the position of the sun. So it shows that the sun does circle around the flat Earth. So he measured that the orange line. It has a distance of approximately 3,000 miles. Okay, he's showing that if someone who is right there where he's pointing the mouse, can't really see the sun coming from the middle of the Indian Ocean. But when it reaches this middle point between Africa and the Indian Ocean, you're able to see. Now he's showing here in this time and date. It's a similar website, and he's showing that at that time of the day, March 16th, the day and night are of the same size equally. So he's showing like when the sun is shining at the start of Africa, East Africa, it's still night in Luanda, Angola, but it's already getting morning, okay, in the east side of Africa. So there is a distance of about 3,000 miles from that point where the sun is rising to Luanda, where he has the point on the flat Earth map. So he measured the distance, and he's comparing now on the flat Earth map, this Portuguese. That line is approximately 3,000 miles, okay, roughly or so. So when the sun is right there on East Africa, you see there, if you can see that circle, that's the sun is coming. That's about 90 degrees from Luanda. So it's not coming straight, it comes from a 90-degree angle. And then from there, another 6,000 miles, you have the discharge of the Amazon River. So remember, this line is about 3,000 miles. So when the sun is right there, it's beginning to get dark in Luanda, Africa. And it's almost about morning time towards Brazil. So the sun rises at 90 degrees from Luanda, Africa. 90 degrees coming from the Indian Ocean. And then right there, it's exactly noon on Luanda, Africa. And then the sun from there is going to go towards the discharge of the Amazon River. And that's going to be another 6,000 miles. And when it reaches the middle ground in between those two, at this point, the sun is in between Africa and Brazil. It's going to be getting dark in Africa, Luanda, and it's going to be, the sun will be rising on the horizon as from someone who sees from the discharge of the Amazon River. Okay, so that's what he's explaining, that the sun, those were places where the sun was recorded according to the Portuguese explorers of the old times. The Portuguese were the first explorers, and they discovered the whole world. I'm going to show you that the Portuguese did discover the whole world from, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and the Americas. Even though some of the discoveries were claimed by Spain, most of the time the explorers were Portuguese working for the King of Spain.
Did you know that Portuguese adventurers secretly discovered and mapped Australia 250 years before Captain Cook? Lesson 1 in White Australian History.
British explorer Captain James Cook discovered Australia in 1770. Or did he? We've known for a while that the Dutch arrived here before him, but what about the Portuguese?
Well, just about all established academics have written at some stage or another that the idea of a Portuguese discovery is, well, sort of a load of rubbish, really, that it's totally wrong. And well, it's not. It can be proved now to be correct. I have great admiration for Captain Cook because he was a fantastic, skilled captain and navigator, and, you know, his achievements in no way lessened by the fact that, quite unknown to him, a Portuguese fleet had sailed along the same coast in the opposite direction some 2.5 centuries previously.
He says the first European to discover Australia was Christopher de Mendonça, who led a small Portuguese fleet in the year 1522. So this is the Vallard Atlas, and this is what started it all for you?
That's right, yes.
The original 16th century Vallard Atlas contains more than a dozen hand-drawn maps of the world, as it was then known to the Europeans.
And we might just stop for a moment and look. There, indisputably, is Fraser Island. You can't really deny that at all. It's when we come to this, now I think one can see straight away the resemblance, the clear resemblance to the shape of eastern and southeastern Australia. And when we then came to look at the names on the map and the geographical features that came into focus when we did this, it became absolutely clear that the theory was correct.
What European country was the first to reach Australia? If you think it was Britain with Captain Cook in 1770, or even the Dutch before that, you'd be wrong. It's believed to have actually been the Portuguese. Maritime maps dating back to the 1500s strongly suggest that Portuguese navigator Cristóvão de Mendonça sailed into Botany Bay in 1522. That is 248 years before Captain Cook did, and a full 8 decades before even the Dutch sighted the land known as Australia.
The Portuguese people were already in Timor-Leste, just north of Australia, in 1511. They were familiar with all those regions because they were already colonizing Timor-Leste in 1511. We're going to be talking about Magellan a little bit. His real name is Fernão de Magalhães. He was from Portugal, and he betrayed the king of Portugal, so the king wanted him dead. So he escaped and he went to work for Spain. But there was an order from the king of Portugal for any vessels, Portuguese vessels, if they came across Spanish vessels in anywhere in all the oceans, if they found Magellan, he was supposed to be brought back to Portugal, dead or alive.
I'd like to be an explorer, like the great Magellan.
Oh, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore.
Ferdinand Magellan was a Portuguese explorer who organized the Spanish expedition to the East Indies from 1519 to 1522, resulting in the first circumnavigation of the Earth, which was completed after his death in the Philippines by Juan Sebastian Elcano. Born 4 February 1480 into a family of minor Portuguese nobility, Magellan became a skilled sailor and naval officer and was in service of the Portuguese crown in Asia. After King Manuel I of Portugal refused to support his plan to reach India by a new route, by sailing around the southern end of the South American continent, he was eventually selected by King Charles I of Spain to search for a westward route to the Maluku Islands. Commanding a fleet of 5 vessels, he headed south through the Atlantic Ocean to Patagonia. Despite a series of storms and mutinies, they made it through the Strait of Magellan into a body of water he named the Peaceful Sea. The expedition reached the Philippine Islands, where Magellan was killed during the Battle of Mactan.
As I told you, the flat Earth map in general is not in detail, but they detail parts of the continents. He's talking about the Strait of Magellan in South America. It's called Estreito dos Magalhães, but that's Strait of Magellan. So that's 1514. Alright, they already had everything in detail, crossing from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Okay, that's the Falkland Islands, Ilhas Malvinas, Falklands Islands right there. So they had everything already on record. All right, 1514, they had everything on record. Now they're talking about giants. Some of these books record the presence of giants in the Patagonia region of Argentina. See, this is another book that details the giants from the Patagonias, giants of the Patagons. You see the small guys there and the giants. So it was those Portuguese map of 1514 talks about those giants in that region. So someone is showing another book that also supports that. It's a Spanish guy recording that they found giants in the Patagonia region in Argentina. So all these people are vanished, are gone. Now, another point very important is Tristan da Cunha. Look at the latitude and longitude 37. That's 1514. So that's Tristan da Cunha today, Tristan da Cunha at that time. They already knew that Tristan da Cunha is situated at the 37 degrees latitude south, right? They already knew that. So the globe wasn't brought to light only 30 years later, when they already had everything in details, all the coordinates of those places. So that's Tristan da Cunha at 37 degrees south. And they already had it in 1514. Actually, before that, because the map was published in 1514. Google Earth, you have there Tristan da Cunha at 37 degrees south. They already knew that before 1514, because the maps were published in 1514. They already knew coordinates all out of those regions. That was way before they even came up with the globe Earth. No GPS back then. They knew the Portuguese had already been everywhere. So I'm going to end this video. I'm going to leave links here. You guys can explore these maps. There are 304 pages. You can go on each one of them and see whatever you want to do. One more time, it's saying the flat Earth map is not really in detail. They detail the continents, and there are a lot of details on all of them. China, Southeast Asia, Europe, England, North America. So that's all for today, guys. You all have a good week. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.